Okay, folks, tonight we're going to talk about hiking some trails in the Jennings State Forest. And this is the Long Pioneer Trail, about 11 or 12 miles through the through the heart of the Jennings Forest. And it's a great trail, one of the best trails I've hiked on. You'll see. We'll look at where it's located. We'll talk a little bit about the history of this trail and of the Jennings State Forest. And then we'll take a hike on portions of the entire trail. So you'll be able to see what each part of the trail looks like. So first of all, where is it located? Well, here's Orange Park and 295. Here's Blanding Boulevard, 21. Comes down into Middleburg. And then you take 218 northwest. And then there's turnoffs here. I'll show you in a little bit to the trailheads that we're going to be looking at, primarily this one for the Pioneer Trail. There's also a couple trails on the east side of Jennings Forest that you get to by turning off here on Old Middleburg Road. And I'll be showing those to you in April. So this area has an ancient history. Of course, the original peoples there were the what we call the Timucuan. And they occupied some of this area and used Black Creek for transportation. Shortly after St. Augustine was settled, a small settlement was built on the North Fork of the Black Creek. And so this area has some pretty old roots in settler history as well. The area continued to be occupied with small farms and settlements, a lot of lumber operations. A lot of the area was clear cut and naval stores. They'd tap the pine trees for sap. And then in the early 1900s, William Jennings bought the area, and it stayed in his estate until 1990, when the state bought 25,000 acres of it from the Jennings family and turned it into a state forest. Lucky for us. So let's take a look at the hiking trails. I mentioned that there's a couple trails on the east side. You see the Fire and Water Trail here on the east side, and the old Jennings trailhead that leads to a couple of trails. I'll be looking at those later on in April. This is the Pioneer Trail here, this blue line. Kind of goes along Black Creek for quite a bit and goes all the way up to here. And then there's the Dunn's Farm Trail, which we looked at earlier, and there's a recording of that on our website. So you can look at the Dunn's Farm Trail. I want to mention that any hiking in here, you got to pay a day use fee of $2. You got to pay it online. I'll talk a little more about the best way to do that later on. But, you know, they don't have cops out there checking to see if you pay, but the state forest can use all the money we can give them. So it's a good idea to go and pay your daily use fee or buy a state pass. So we're looking at the Pioneer Trail, and there's a number of trail locations. And they're spaced out about 2.5 miles on the trail side. And let's start with the southernmost. Indian Ford Trail down here, Knight's Landing, Ellis Ford, Dunn's Farm. You used to have to you could only get on here, but now there's a new trailhead here. So there's actually 2 trailheads here. And then Powell Ford Trailhead up here. You can drive to all those. Just a second. So the Pioneer Trail was it's an old trail, but it was opened and redone in 2019. So it's a brand new trail, and considering 2020 has pretty much been a lost year as far as hiking goes, it's pretty new and really pristine. Like I said, it's divided into about 2.5 mile sections. It shares part of the Dunn's Farm Trail up at the northern end. Some of it's flat, but a lot of it I would call moderately difficult with ups and downs. So you may want to take a trekking pole with you. And the trailheads are accessible by car on forest roads. Now, just to orient you, you know, you come down into Middleburg on 21, you turn right on 218, go up about, and it's about 4.5 miles. And you can turn right on Nolan Road. That's a paved road. And then you can turn right on Hattie Nolan Road, and that'll take you to either the Indian Ford trailhead or the Knights Landing trailhead. Or you can keep on going, and that'll take you to Ellis Ford trailhead or the new trailhead up here on Dunn's Farm. So all those are good, improved lime rock reinforced forest roads, and you're pretty safe on driving on those. As far as the Powell Ford Road goes, which goes up here, that hasn't been reinforced, and I was reluctant to take my little car up there because you're really in the middle of nowhere. I was afraid I was going to get stuck in the sand, but the rangers do tell me that you can drive that one too. So all of them are easy reachable. Some of them you can kayak from as well, to kayak on Black Creek. Now, in a previous program, like I mentioned, we talked about the Dunn's Farm Trail, which is really a nice 3.5-mile trail, nice loop here, beautiful part of the trail here. And there, you can also pick up the last part of the Pioneer Trail there, or you can pick up the Pioneer Trail there. So I'll do a quick review of kind of what we saw on that program. But basically, we're going to look at the Pioneer Trail from the other trailheads. We're going to start Indian Ford, and we're going to drive up and hike a little bit from Knights Landing going north. Then we're going to go up to Ellis Ford and hike pretty much west on Ellis Ford for a little while, so you can see that. And then we'll drive up to this new trail here at Dunn's Farm and hike the rest of the trail up there, so you can see what that looks like. So you'll get a good look at all the trail. I couldn't hike it all because I was by myself, so I couldn't hike 2.5 and come back. And so I hiked a mile or two on each one and then came back and went to the next one. So that's the way we did that. Now this Dunn's Farm trailhead is a new trailhead here, right here, where I have new since February 2021. And so you can park right there and just do this section right here. Otherwise, you have to go to Dunn's Farm, and this is about 3/4 of a mile through really, really pretty upland pine forest, but you can get right to the Pioneer Trail now from there. So let's talk first about Indian Ford Trailhead. Again, we come up 18, we turn right on Nolan Road, which is paved, turn right on Hattie Nolan Road, which is paved to right about here where you get into the forest. Then you come down, there's an obvious place to turn on Nolan Road, down here past the old Paget Cemetery and down to the Indian Ford parking area. And then we're going to hike up this way and back. So as we come down Hattie Nolan Road, you'll enter the forest by going straight. You see you'll see the sign there. And there's a sign that where you turn left for Knights Landing Road, or you go straight for Indian Ford Road. So you can see we're right here right now. So we just keep on going straight. We go past Paget Cemetery. Paget's an old family that lived in this area. In fact, there's more Pagets buried in Dunn's Cemetery than there are Dunns. This used to be the site of a Baptist church. The church later got destroyed as people moved away, and the cemetery remained, and it's for Paget family members. You pass that, then you come to the Indian Ford Recreation Area, the Indian Ford Trailhead. And you can see there's plenty of parking there. Trailhead is over here, and then off to the right here, off the screen, is a picnic area over to the right with some picnic tables and stuff. So we're right at the southern beginning of the Pioneer Trail down there. So here's the kiosk. It's got a mileage sign there, got a map, and what I'm going to do is hike about 1.5 miles or so to a campground that's about halfway up. And so you can get an idea about what this trail looks like. By the way, in Meetup, I've posted a link where you can get to where you can download a really good map of the Jennings State Forest, and it shows the Pioneer Trail. So you can download that from the link I put in the meetup. So you can see the trail is nice and wide. It's marked with those, you see those bright blue blazes on the trees. So it's well marked. We get one view of Black Creek, and then we kind of wander off of Black Creek and are walking through the woods. But it's a beautiful hike. It's got signs when necessary, and also those blue blazes, so it's easy to find your way. Very, very pretty hike. See, the trail's well maintained, dry, wide. Any low sections they've treated with gravel, built boardwalks. So it's easy to navigate. Usually there's a bench about a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile into the hike. There's a bench or something where you can stop, and plenty of directional signs telling you where to go. So this bench, I think, was about a half a mile up or so. And you can see many parts of the trail are really worn down. You can see the saucer shape of that trail. And so this trail, it was a major pioneer trail for wagons, lumber wagons, logging, and so forth. So many parts of the trail are well worn. You can tell they were really used a lot, frequently used over time. There's a beautiful spot. Had to take a picture of that. Another beautiful spot there at McIntosh Branch. All these creeks you see like this are flowing downhill and into Black Creek. And then this is a turnoff for the campsite. By the way, it's not this campsite. This campsite is located on this orange trail. This is another campsite that's located right here. And I ran into a couple folks that were camping for the weekend in there, and they were just packing up to go. And you can walk down from the campsite just a short ways and get really nice view of Black Creek. That's looking north on Black Creek. That's looking south on Black Creek. Very pretty. So we looked at this section from Indian Ford. We didn't go quite all the way up to Knight's Landing, but we went about halfway up. It's flat, easy hike, great views of Black Creek when you get to the campsite. And so you could either hike part of it, turn around and go back, or you could leave a car up at Knight's Landing, hike to Knight's Landing. So you got all kinds of options in here. Now let's take a look at the Knight's Landing trailhead. Recall when we came down Hattie Nolan Road, entered the forest. If we turn left, that would take us to Knight's Landing. So let's take that left and drive up here to Knight's Landing now. You can see just a short ways up, we come into the Knight's Landing recreation area. It's about a mile down the road. Plenty of parking place here. And it's right on Black Creek, and you can put a kayak in down there. You have to walk back up the road about 30 yards or so to the trailhead. So we're parked down here in the parking lot. We walk back up so you can see the sign up here. So the trail crosses just a little ways up. So you just walk up the road a little bit and get to the trailhead. So if we turn left, we go back to we go back to Indian Ford, but we want to hike north. So we'll turn right and take the Pioneer Trail north toward Ellis Ford. So we'll hike a little bit up here and see what the trail looks like on this section. Again, flat, easy, well marked. We don't have any creek views here. See again the blue blazes, but it's a beautiful silent woods. I never ran into hardly anybody on these trails. And There's a nice, fantastic bench that's built by the folks that put this trail together. And they just used some logs that were laying there and use that to make a nice natural bench. Again, you can see how deeply worn the trail is. A lot of use over a long period of time. And we come to a small crossing, Scully Branch. And so they always have things named, probably named after some volunteers and stuff that worked here. I don't know. And the trail continues much like it did before. Beautiful open forest. Another nice bench. So that pretty much tells you about that section, Knight's Landing to Ellis Ford. Flat, easy, but again, most of the hike away from Black Creek, but beautiful forest hike. Now we'll take a look at the Ellis Ford trailhead. Come up Nolan Road, but instead of turning on Hattie Nolan, we keep going straight. We'll come to an intersection here where we can take Ellis Ford Road all the way up to the trailhead. So here we are. We've driven up Nolan Road. We're entering into the forest now. This square right here, by the way, is just a piece of private land, and it's just kind of there. I guess they didn't sell out. So then we'll come to this intersection right here. We turn right to go to the Ellis Ford trailhead, and then we can turn left, and I'll show you that later, to get up here to this trailhead. I say the trailhead's not quite finished, but it is now. So, but we're going to Ellis Ford. So just a little ways down the road, here's the Ellis Ford area. Good parking again. Trail is over here to the right. Nice view of Black Creek from here. And you can put a kayak in here as well. So this is that fence we saw before. We just go down here to the trailhead. Again, turning left goes south back to Knight's Landing where we just were, or we can turn right and head up toward Dunn's Farm Trail. So we're gonna go north. So we head on up. We cross the road that we just drove in on. Again, we just follow those blue blazes. I really like this section of the trail better than the other two, just because it's got some ups and downs, and it walks along. You know, you're pretty much along steep ravine. You got more creek views, and you got a great walkway that I'll show you, and some features up here to on the northern part of the trail here, Dunn Cemetery, and a nice camping view and overlook there that's really nice. So this is, if you just want to do a 2.5 mile section, this is a great one to do. So you can see we're just walking along the top of the ravine. It's hard to see the ups and downs, but it's ups and downs, following the creek. Beautiful spot there for a bench. We'll go on up a little further. Really pretty in there, huh? You can see how the ravine slopes down. And then we come to Many Seeps Walkway. So if you look down into the ravine, they built that beautiful walkway that crosses the creek that flows into Black Creek. So we're going to go down there and take a look at that. So we just head on down. So you can see that was built in 2019. And that's that little creek is called Paget Branch. So then you would cross the creek and go up on the other side. We kept on going, then we'd come up to a couple things I want to show you up in this area. This is a view from the walkway itself, looking down at the creek. And then about a mile further on, we come to what's the name Osteen Overlook. And that's a beautiful overlook of Black Creek. And this area has a small campground and access to Dunn Cemetery. Really a pretty spot. It's called Mule Landing Campground. There's a fire ring, little bench. And then Dunn Cemetery. Now, I looked at a video from a few years back, and this cemetery was all overgrown, and you couldn't see it where anybody was buried or anything. But in cleaning all this up and building the Pioneer Trail, they've cleaned that cemetery out and fenced it in, and really done a nice job of some of the grave sites weren't even marked, but they were able to find them and put a little symbol there where the graves are. And then we just head back. Back to the car. So that's the Ellis Ford section. It's really a nice one. And I think, like I say, if you only can come out and do a little bit of the trail, I would suggest that you do that section or the next section coming up. So it's the best of these three, but this new section I'm going to show you is also really nice. So again, coming up 218, you turn on Nolan Road. You come here. Remember, we saw a sign, turn to the right to Ellis Ford. Well, if we go straight, the road leads around this private property. And then a little further on is a new trailhead they built right here. And so right here, you can hike. From here, you just hike a short distance, and then you can take the newest part of the Pioneer Trail that's just open. You can take that up there. And so we'll take a look at that. So again, the trailhead is in the right here in the circle. And this is the new northernmost part of the Pioneer Trail. And it just opened up a few months ago. When I was here and I was doing the original program here for Dunn's Farm, this trail was closed, but now it's open and ready for hiking. Lots of ups and downs on this one. Bring your trekker poles. They're not bad ups and downs, but they're ups and downs. So remember, here we turned right to go to Ellis Ford. Now we just keep going straight. We're right here. We just keep going straight and then drive around this piece of property. And we come to this small parking area right here. And then the trailhead is just right across the street. You'll see a mark right here. In fact, you'll see a pink place for the Dunn's Farm Trail. And we just hike just a little bit up here, and then we'll come to this intersection. I'll show you. So this is the start. And then it opens up into this big area here with trails all over the place. And we're just going to go left and down the hill, and then we'll continue on the Pioneer Trail down that way. And it's all well marked. So we just go down and over the sea. It's well marked. Just go over the creek here. And we're gonna hike up the Cole Overlook, which is really a cool place. Again, well marked with blazes and arrows. Nice trail, wide. But this one does go pretty much up and down. We come to a small overlook just before Coal Overlook. At first I thought this was Coal Overlook, but it's not. So we're looking down at Black Creek, and then we just hike up the hill just a little further to Coal Overlook. So here's Coal Overlook. And it tells us that Powell Ford is another 1.7 miles. Phillips Branch, where we started, was 1.1. And then it's got an Appalachian Trail side here. Mount Katahdin, Maine is only 2,581 miles. So I guess somebody's got a sense of humor, but and I don't know if you can hike from here to Mount Katahdin without hopping in a car or walking on a highway or something. But anyway, a little humor. So this is Coal Overlook, beautiful spot, quiet, no noise, no people, great views of Black Creek, and just a nice place to sit and take it easy. And of course, you can continue from Coal Overlook, and you can go all the way up if you want, but Powell Ford, then come back. And we come back to the trail junction and the parking lot. So the Pioneer Trail, the Powell Ford part, beautiful, lot of creek views, but some ups and downs. So you need to bring some trekking poles, something like that. So that's the Pioneer Trail. There's lots of options of what you can do. You could certainly, if you want to hike 2 sections and you're with somebody else, you could leave a car at Ellis Ford and hike this section. You could leave a car here and hike that section. If you park here, this last new parking place I showed you, you can go up Dunn's Farm Trail a little bit, and just right down here is the cemetery and the overlook that I showed you. Then you can come back and hike this part of Dunn's Farm, which is really pretty, and then do a little bit of the Pioneer Trail, or you could just cross and do the Pioneer Trail. So since there's so many different ways in and out, there's all kinds of options. Or if you're by yourself, you can just do an out and back as far as you want on any of these. And so there's lots of options on how you want to do it. This Pioneer Trail is one of the best trails I've hiked in Florida, and that includes things like Ocala National Forest and everything else. And I like it because it's nice and close to us, pristine, uncrowded, really, really pretty. Again, I said don't forget to pay your daily fee online. I posted on Meetup a link to get directly to how to pay your fee, because what happens is they've got a QR code there that doesn't really go right to where you need to go to pay your fee, and you get lost in trying to pay for camping and all that kind of stuff. But I've got a link. It's best to pay your fee at home before you go, or at home when you get back, or buy a yearly pass for about 45 bucks. And that pays for a whole car full of people when you go out. But they don't have those cash boxes anymore. And they can use the fees. So figure out a way to do that. That's the end. And I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can get out there.